Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Monday Fire episode number 106, where we're going to talk about niching down in your business. We're going to talk about why trying to be for everyone is getting you nowhere. And I'm excited to chat with you guys today. I got to tell you the truth, though. Sometimes when I get ready to do this podcast, I want to rap, like 80s rap at the very beginning. One of these days I'm just going to do it. I'm getting ready to turn 50. And so one of these days I'll just be like, you know what? Now I'm 50 and I'm just going to rap to a Brass Monkey if I want to on my Monday Fire. No, I'm kidding. But maybe you just never know. So literally every time I push the record button, I want to start rapping. This is my life. Okay. But let's also talk about another part of my life, which is the business coaching, as you know that I do. Okay. So here's what I want to talk about. We were figuring out the other day how many people have gone through my coaching group. Okay, so we've got almost 8,000, mostly women, have gone through my monthly coaching group in the last 5 years. We have had over 2,000 of you take my, it used to be Creators Roadmap, is now the Better Way program. We've had several hundred people who have gone through the next level or are now in the next level mastermind with me currently. So I want you to know I'm not giving those numbers to be like braggalicious. I'm just telling you I've got some experience with coaching women, okay? And with coaching women who are wanting to do small business in the online space. And so I was having a conversation with one of our clients the other day because, and she's precious, and I've asked her, by the way, for her permission on this podcast. Her name is Kate. Her business is called Word Warriors. Kate has a really phenomenal story of from sickness to wellness. And then she has developed a line of like scripture cards and clothing with like words on them. You can find her website, by the way, at shopwordwarriors.com. Okay. So Kate and I are having a conversation just about her business and in looking at some of her, social media channels. I was confused about a couple of things, which then started her and I on this conversation, which then led to me having a conversation with my team, which then led me to go, we need to do a podcast about this, because here's what I see sometimes happening. Sometimes I see that when women are building a business in the online space, they're afraid to really niche down. First of all, do you say niche or do you say niche? Why don't you send me a message on Instagram? Let me know, but I say niche. Okay. So, but then there's that saying that the riches are in the niches. So then I'm like, well, is it niche? Is it niche? Is it niche online and is it niche when you put a hole in your wall in the hallway and put a vase or a vase in it? I don't even know. Somebody correct my grammar here. So we're going to say niche down. No, we're going to say niche down. I don't care. I don't care what you say. Anyway, here's what I want you to do. Okay. So what I was telling Kate and what I was talking to my team about is what I've noticed is sometimes women are really afraid of losing people or losing sales. So they think, okay, I've got to be for everybody. I've got to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I think that's a rap song too, by the way. A little bit of this, a little. Okay. So they want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. They want to not necessarily say that they're just for this group of people, because then they feel like they're excluding that group of people. They don't want to only sell this because they also sell like this and this. And so what ends up happening is they get so loosey-goosey in what it is that they're selling and who they stand for, that when they're trying to be for everybody, they're literally for nobody then. Does that make sense? Like when you're trying to sell to everybody, then you're kind of selling to nobody. And so this was the conversation that we were having with Kate at Word Warriors. I was also talking to my team about this recently because there's a couple other areas that I'm seeing this in terms of, for instance, listening to some coaches. I've heard them recently talking about like two different things. Like they're talking about like God, and then they're also talking about manifestation. They're talking about like prayer, but they're also talking about like universe types of stuff. You know what I mean? Like one's, more Christianese language, if you will, and one is like New Age. And I think perhaps the thinking is to like capture people, or appeal to people kind of in both arenas, if you will. And the truth is, like, if you are a Christian, that New Age language turns you off. And if you are more into New Age, probably the Christian language turns you off. And so in that, it's a confusing messaging because I don't know what that person stands for. And I wanted Kate to get really clear on what she's going to stand for. Now, listen, I know that part of the scare is, okay, but I don't want to offend anybody. Well, it's not offensive to be clear on who your product or your service is for. Let me give you an example. I coach mostly women. I mean, I coach women. So in my copy, I'm talking to women. On my website, I'm talking about women. Here on this podcast, I'm talking to women. Do I, on occasion, have men that go through my programs and my groups? Absolutely. Do we have men that listen to this podcast? Yeah, there's like 3 of you. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. One of them, by the way, is my son Easton's friend, who is a senior in high school this year. Shout out to any senior that's listening to your friend's mom's business podcast. Like, high five to you. You're going places, dude. And so will there be one-offs, outliers? Of course. And that's great. And that's okay. Right. But I don't want you to be afraid of really like taking a position or a stand or a just making it uber clear, like what your ideal client is or speaking to your ideal person. Sometimes I think that can evolve, by the way, so we have really always spoke to women because my audience has been like 98% women. I feel the most comfortable coaching women because, in case you didn't know, I am a woman. Do you know what I mean? And so like, I feel like I understand the female brain. I feel like the dynamics of being a woman in business are different than men. By the way, I'm not anti-men. I don't love the I am woman, hear me roar. I don't subscribe to that, but I'm just saying I am most comfortable coaching women because I understand women, because I am a woman. I am for women. And so it's not that I'm anti anything. It's just, these are really the people that I most want to be buying my coaching products. And also, I've been pretty clear that because I am a creative, I love coaching creatives. Now, does that mean that we have don't have any non-creatives? Oh my gosh, we have tons of people who would not consider themselves creatives, but maybe more analytical that come through my coaching groups. But I've been very clear that I coach women, I coach a lot of creatives, and I coach a lot of women who faith is an important part of their life. Now, we have people who have no faith, who share a different faith, who aren't sure about their faith, who are also in my coaching group, and that is great, and that is fine. But I'm still going to continue speaking to who I think would be perfect for my coaching. Does that make sense? Because that clarity, I've heard, people say clarity is caring. When you're super clear about what it is that you're doing, then there's no room, and not a lot of confusion. And then nobody's confused when they get into one of my coaching groups. And I've got one of my war room sessions going on where I'm literally praying over businesses. They're not like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that Jennifer was a Christian. And, I don't love that. And I want out, because all of my messaging, my website, everything has already led up to that. Does that make sense? And so I want you to know that if you're concerned, you're going to turn some people away. Perhaps you will. Perhaps you'll lose some clients. And guess what? That's okay. That's okay. You're not meant to serve everybody. You're not supposed to be for everybody. Sorry, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you just literally saw me apply lip gloss. So all of a sudden I was like, why is my face so washed out? And yes, by the way, if you're just listening to this, it is on YouTube every week. You may lose a couple people, but the flip side of that is when you become uber clear and you've really niched down, you quit trying to be for everybody, you'll also magnetize exactly the right people to your business and to your brand. Okay. So when you're thinking about your messaging, remember that the clarity is caring, that speaking to your ideal person is actually going to benefit you more in the long run. That if people are confused about what it is that you do, if they're on your website and they see that you're doing, cookie decorating, but also that you've started selling a line of boutique clothing, and then also, you're doing some blog posts about your favorite salads for the summer, like that's confusing. And when people are confused, well, you lose sales. That is, if anybody can teach you that, it's Donald Miller in StoryBrand. When people are confused, you lose. I think that is one of his sayings. And so get super clear on your social media, on your website, in your emails. Speak to that ideal client with zero fear of losing some people. I can tell you that I'm pretty sure I can say with absolute confidence that I've got quite a few people who come through my coaching groups who are not necessarily Christians and not necessarily creatives. And yet, because I've been upfront about what it is that I stand for and who it is that I stand for, they're not offended. They still stay. They appreciate just knowing, kind of where I stand on things. It actually, friends, makes people feel secure when they don't have to wonder what it is that you think, believe, or stand on some certain issues. Does that make sense? Even if they don't agree with you. And I love that. I love knowing that the clarity in your positioning in the marketplace actually makes people feel secure, clients feel secure, even if they're not necessarily in complete alignment with what you stand for. Does that make sense? And so I hope that that's helpful for you today. I know this conversation was really helpful for Kate at Word Warriors, just in talking about, because she sells a couple of different things. She has a clothing line. She also has scripture cards. And then, because of her story of some major things, you have to go to her website at Shop Word Warriors, kind of read about that. There's kind of a third component to that. And she could really go deep into any of those areas. And what's going to actually, I think, be best for her business is to kind of pick one of those three arenas, if you will, and just double down on that. Double down on that. And I want to just, as a reminder, just remind you women of this too. Sometimes I know that doubling down on something specific, and you may have seen us almost double down on the faith component in the last 1.5 to 2 years in my coaching. Part of it, by the way, that hasn't been like necessarily strategic. It's just been as my faith grows deeper, as my walk with Christ grows deeper. And as I get better as a coach, I can't leave that out. I can't, because there's times when I'm talking to women and trying to coach them through a particular situation in their business that has a root that is something that can only, I believe, be solved in advice that is biblical. Does that make sense? Why are you afraid to go on Facebook Live? Where's that vulnerability coming from? Why are you afraid to be seen in business? Why do you keep playing small? Those are all things that you can't fix with another training. Those are heart and soul things that have to be addressed in order to grow your business. And so I hope that this is really helpful for someone who's concerned at, oh my gosh, if I say I'm only, trying to get clients, on the East Coast, well, I don't want to offend the people on the West Coast. Well, I don't know that it's offensive being like, hey, most of my people were over here on the East Coast. I mean, that's probably a terrible example, but that clarity actually really helps a lot of your clients know what they're getting into and know what they can expect. And in the long run, when you're trying to be for everybody, you're literally for no one. And this is not meaning we're excluding groups of people. Don't be gross, okay? I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about being super clear and niching down. Because the further down you can niche sometimes, the more success you're going to have in your business. And so I hope that's helpful. I hope that this was helpful for Kate. Go check out her shop, wordwarriors.com. And I'll see you again on the podcast on Wednesday. And if this was helpful for you, will you share this podcast on Instagram and just tag me on it? Because I always see those, you guys. I see every single one of them. So thanks for being here. I'll see you again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.